Research shows that the core beliefs that children absorb about themselves, about their bodies, their visibility, how much space they're allowed to take up, are wired in before age 7. Before you had language for it, before you could question it, before you even knew you were learning anything at all. And yet, here you are, decades later, still following rules you never consciously agreed to. Still dimming yourself, still managing how much of you anyone is allowed to see. Still making yourself smaller so no one else feels uncomfortable. You didn't decide this, you inherited it. And until you see the rule, you can't put it down. Hey friends, I'm Sandy Bartlett, shamanic practitioner for Second Spring women who are ready to stop people pleasing and reclaim their lives. And this is Journey to Self, powered beyond people pleasing. Today, we're talking about the invisible people pleasing scripts that you've been following your whole life and what happens when you finally see them. But before we get into that, I pulled a card for this episode, and the card that came through was Jaguar. A black jaguar, steady and unblinking, moving through shadow and firelight. She doesn't hide. She doesn't adjust herself to make the jungle more comfortable. She moves through it, fully herself, fully visible. And the jungle reorganizes around her. The guidebook says Jaguar is the master of the shadows, blending between light and dark, known and unknown. She calls you to explore beyond the walls that confine you, to venture into the dark places you've been reluctant to go. And her medicine asks, what have you carried around with you far too long, which is ready to be let go of once and for all? For this episode, this week, this theme, I read that as the rules. The invisible people-pleasing scripts about visibility, about making yourself smaller, about managing how much of you anyone is allowed to see. Jaguar doesn't follow those rules. She never learned them. And her invitation this week is for you to start questioning whether those rules were ever meant to be yours. That recognition that maybe the rule was never true, that's part of what today is about. If you're recognizing the rules you didn't know you were following, the ones that said manage your visibility, adjust your presence, make yourself smaller so no one else feels uncomfortable, you're already halfway there. This is ancestral healing work, breaking the people-pleasing scripts you inherited from the women in your line who learned that their visibility, their bodies, their needs were something to manage. I offer one-to-one shamanic sessions for women who are ready to put down the rules that were never meant to serve them and stop performing someone else's version of acceptable. If you're ready, the link to book a session is in the show notes. So let's talk about the rules you absorbed. Nobody handed you a rule book. Nobody sat you down and walked you through it. But somewhere between watching the women around you and learning what got rewarded and what didn't, you absorbed it anyway. Don't be too much. Don't be too visible. Don't let your body announce things that should stay private. Keep yourself at a size that doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. You thought those rules were protecting you. And maybe they were once. But protection and smallness are not the same thing, even when they feel identical. What kept you safe in one season of your life became the cage in another. This is how ancestral patterns move, not through conversations, not through anything that was ever said out loud, through behavior, through what you watched your mother do, through what her mother did before her. The people pleasing script moves down the line like an inheritance nobody chose, but everybody received. Which rule hits closest to home for you? Don't be too much, don't be too visible, or don't inconvenience anyone. Let me know in the comment. I remember one time in elementary school, I was out on the playground. It was recess time, and I was wearing a dress that day, and apparently you could see through it. I didn't realize it. I didn't have a slip on. And the kids, particularly the boys, made sure I knew it, that they could see through it. I was mortified. And in that one moment, something got wired in. Your visibility is something to be ashamed of. Your body announces things that should stay hidden. Don't let people see through to what's underneath. That moment didn't stay on the playground. It followed me for decades. Into the way I dressed, the way I moved through a room, the way I managed how much of myself anyone was allowed to see. What felt like a personal quirk, a preference, just the way I was actually a rule, one I'd been following since I was a little girl in a dress on a playground. And here's what I know now that I didn't know then. That role didn't start with me. The belief that women's bodies need to be controlled, managed, made acceptable, that came from somewhere much older. It moved through the maternal line and landed in me before I had any way to question it. The reason these rules are so hard to see is because they stop feeling like rules. They become the water you swim in, the air you breathe, just the way things are. The people-pleasing script quietly becomes, I should take up less space. I should manage how visible I am. I should adjust myself so no one around me feels uncomfortable. And you do it automatically, without a second thought, because you've been doing it your entire life. Until the day you don't. Until the day you catch yourself mid-adjustment and something in you goes still and asks, wait, who decided this was the rule? Who said this was true? Was it ever actually true? That pause is everything. That's not a small moment. That's the beginning of the ancestral pattern losing its grip on you. So let me ask you, have you ever caught yourself mid-adjustment, shrinking, dimming, making yourself smaller, and realized what you were doing? Just put yes or no in the comments. So the quote for our Whispers of Wisdom comes from Carl Jung. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's exactly what the invisible people-pleasing script does. It runs underneath everything, directing how visible you allow yourself to be, how much space you take up, how much of you anyone is allowed to see. And you call it your personality. You call it just who you are. Jung calls it fate. We're calling it a rule. And now you can see it. You don't break a rule you can't see. So this week, that's the only thing I'm asking you to do, is just see it. Notice once, just once, when the rule kicks in. When you start to dim yourself, adjust your presence, tuck away the fullness of you so someone else stays comfortable. You don't have to stop it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything differently yet. Just notice. Name it quietly to yourself. That's the rule, and it was never mine. That's where it starts to lose its power. Not in the grand gesture, in the noticing. The rule was never yours. It was handed to you by women who were handed it before you, who were handed it before that. You've been carrying it so long it felt like skin. But skin you were born with. This you learned. And what was learned can be unlearned. One moment of noticing at a time. Until next time, be true to you.